What does it mean to be a native? Don't we all belong to somewhere we call home? The question then becomes, is our motherland the place where our ancestors called home, where our skin color fixates us to? Or is it the place we chose to settle and live our lives to the fullest? In this video, we are going to look at one of the greatest American stories told on film. The movie Gangs of New York represents historical films at their finest. It shows the gritty nature of what it took to build New York into the center of the world. We will look through the lens of this movie's most eccentric character, none other than William Cutting, also known as Bill the Butcher. This character is based on the real man known as William Poole, leader of the nativist Bowery Boys gang, and a fierce opponent of Irish immigration and Tammany Hall. But for our purposes, as always, we will go off the phenomenal portrayal by Daniel Day-Lewis, because, well, enough said, right? We are going to dive into his words and his deeds that we see in this film, showing the real plight of the immigrant in New York around the time of the Civil War in America. In today's world, immigration has become a hot-button issue, and the entire world has seen the mass exodus into more developed regions. It is always history repeating itself that we would find a group of people settling in a land from one place, hating passionately a group of people immigrating from another place because of the motto, "We got here first." We grew here, you flew here sort of thing. But obviously in America, only the Native Americans have that claim, and we should all just shut the hell up about it because what was done to those people is just a tale as old as time itself. Is Bill the Butcher just another racist who thinks his people are the only ones who have a right to freedom in a new land? Or was he a patriot, just fighting to keep his neighborhoods from becoming defiled? Let's find out. Gangs of New York portrays immigration in 19th century America as a volatile and often brutal process, shaped by deep social divisions and competition for power. Set in the Five Points neighborhood of New York City, the film highlights the tensions between newly arrived Irish immigrants and the nativist groups, who see them as a threat to their economic stability and cultural identity. Through its characters, the story reflects how immigrants were frequently forced into violence just to survive and claim a place in society. The depiction of the draft riots underscores how systemic inequality, political corruption, and exploitation of immigrant communities fueled unrest, revealing that the promise of America was often overshadowed by hardship and exclusion. Ultimately, the film presents immigration not as a smooth journey toward opportunity, but as a harsh, chaotic struggle that helped shape the nation's identity. Let's see what old Bill has to say about it. "I don't see no Americans. I see trespassers, Irish harps. Do a job for a nickel what a black person does for a dime and a white man used to get a quarter for. What have they done? Name one thing they've contributed." This quote comes out strong and sets the tone for the rest. And I'm sorry I just could not use the given slur language in the quote for obvious reasons. When he says he doesn't see Americans, he's arguing that immigrants, especially the Irish, don't truly belong in the country. Calling them trespassers frames immigration as an invasion rather than a legitimate search for opportunity. The part about doing a job for a nickel reflects a common 19th century fear that immigrants would work for lower wages, undercutting native-born workers and threatening their livelihoods. This idea fueled resentment among working-class Americans, even though it ignored the economic realities that forced immigrants to accept low pay in the first place. His question, "What have they contributed?" reveals deliberate ignorance. Immigrants were actually building infrastructure, fueling urban growth, and shaping American culture. But Bill refuses to acknowledge that because it conflicts with his belief that only people like him are real Americans. Overall, the quote highlights how economic anxiety, racism, and nationalism combine to create hostility toward immigrants. The film uses his character to expose how exclusionary and violent those attitudes were, rather than to justify them. Sound familiar? This is the argument that has always been used and will always be used. If one group of humans land on a piece of land before another, then that means it belongs to them. Possession is 9/10, and all that bullshit, right? It will always be a battle for resources. There's only so much to go around. I feel that no matter what you do, it is very difficult to make everyone happy when you are taking jobs away from one group of people to give them to another, and at a lower wage overall. When you threaten a man's pockets and his livelihood, it is obviously going to make his blood boil. This is understandable. But it is not that group's fault for just trying to survive with what they are given, just like you and yours did when you first landed. The ones to blame are the people profiting from the chaos, stoking political corruption, lining their pockets with the blood of innocents, for another term, and blood votes. It is always the common man that will pay the heaviest price, always being used as a rallying cry for another man's ambitions. The notion that there is plenty to go around for all was one that could have worked back then, when the country was just building itself up from the dirt and filth. But nowadays, resources are getting thinner and thinner, and it is only a matter of time where people want what is greener on the other side. When that happens, you will see humans eat each other for a taste. Then we will truly see the nature of mankind, unfortunately. Bill talks about Irish immigrants taking the native jobs, but it was the case as it is sometimes today that many immigrants who come to a new country have to pay their dues just like anyone else. They do not start out at the top, but work the jobs that no one else wants, in hopes to save up and climb every rung of that ladder. There is always a politician, or 10, stoking the fires of racial hatred as a false flag for their campaigns. Tammany was a great example of this. He would go down to the docks and give soup to the immigrants coming off the ships. But you better damn well believe that bowl of soup comes with strings, not crackers. While at the same time, for military-age men, if you want your next meal, hell, sign up to fight the Southern rebels, and Uncle Sam will put a rifle in your hands and provide 3 square meals a day. Shit, you can see how this was a sweet deal to people who had less than nothing, fresh off the hard ship ride across the Atlantic. So what Bill says here is instigated by the flames of ambition, because there will always be men looking to capitalize off the degradation of war. Buy votes with soup, get soldiers for the cause. Somebody has to sell equipment to the gold miners, right? These sorts of issues can be mediated out properly with the people meant to be the so-called leaders. But when civil servants are too busy serving their own damn selves, what chance do the rest of us have? Hate and anger are our easiest go-to emotions. It is natural, it feels good. So human beings honestly do not stand a chance if they are being provoked into something they already feel in spades. When Bill and Priest Valen battle it out for the points, Bill exclaims, "At my challenge by the ancient laws of combat, we have met at this chosen ground to settle for good and all who hold sway over the 5 points, us natives, born right wise to this fine land, or the foreign hordes defiling it. This is action from principle." Bill was the finger on the trigger sort of man. He was not just a man of boisterous words. No, he was a man of staunch belief in what he was doing, and willing to plunge his knife into anyone trying to take what he deemed his. His battle cry was, "Then may the Christian Lord guide my hand against your Roman popery." Look at this. Belief in the same God, belief in the same Savior, but yet separated by the corrupt institutions of man. I have no problem with the belief itself. It is when a human being tries to act like they know more than the rest of us, impart made-up knowledge onto the masses of sheeple, and incite mass murder and chaos for centuries over nothing. It always comes down to goddamn religion, doesn't it? Always. This shit, I'm sorry to say, is the killer of man and has been for centuries. It devolves us. Many have woken up to this in recent times, and please don't get me wrong. It is wonderful to have faith in something you cannot see, and I tip my hat to anyone who can do so. But unfortunately, when such things become just another difference among us, then it just turns into yet another reason to kill your fellow man, as if race, color, creed was not enough. My point is proven when Bill says, "The priest and me, we lived by the same principles. It was only faith divided us." He gave me this, you know. That was the finest beating I ever took. This shortened quote shows how strong men with very similar mechanisms can want a war with each other over notions wrought by beliefs in the invisible, recited, touted, and enforced by the most corrupt institutions on this planet. Unfortunately, Bill contradicts himself in a major way, because as much as we love this portrayal of the man, he was a piece of shit, but we all love the Scarface of the situation, don't we? He says, a real native is someone who is willing to die fighting for his country. There's nothing more to it. So by Bill's own definition of what a native is, that would mean that the Irish coming off the boats, going to fight for the Union, therefore the United States, would be considered natives, right? They are fighting for their new country, are they not? It might be for a backwards notion of survival to go to war, so you can survive with 3 meals a day, but you do what you have to do. So whatever their reasons, they are fighting and dying for their country, and actually, that shows more patriotism than Bill and his natives have, honestly. You would think the ones who consider themselves native would be the ones willing to fight on the front lines and die for their country. But when you have an army, mainly comprised of races fairly new to the country, it definitely puts things into perspective a bit. Our final quote shows why men like Bill feel the way they do about their country. My father gave his life, making this country what it is. Murdered by the British with all of his men on the 25th of July, Anno Domini, 1814. Do you think I'm going to help you befoul his legacy by giving this country over to them? What's had no hand in the fighting for it? Why? Because they come off a boat crawling with lice and begging you for soup. This is the case in most instances, where it is not the man himself that has sacrificed for his country, but his family before him has done the deeds, and so he must protect their legacy. This is Bill's point of view. He thinks that what his father did gives him the right over others, but men's forefathers have been fighting and dying for a land not of their own for millennia, and that fact does not make the land any more theirs. It simply stoked the acquired patriotism of the ones who come down the line. So what can we learn from this once-upon-a-time tale? One of the biggest takeaways is how fear and insecurity can turn into hostility toward outsiders. Bill's anger isn't just random, though. It's rooted in economic anxiety and a belief that his identity and status are being threatened. That shows how easily people can blame immigrants for broader social and economic problems, even when those problems are more complex, because we all need an outlet for our anger, and other struggling humans always fit the bill. Another important lesson is how definitions of who belongs are often constructed and exclusionary. The irony is that many so-called Native Americans of that era were themselves descendants of immigrants, yet they still drew harsh lines against newer arrivals. The film reminds us that American identity has always been shaped by waves of immigration, even when each new group faced resistance. Ultimately, the lesson is about recognizing patterns. The same fears, stereotypes, and arguments about immigration repeat throughout history. By understanding them in this context, we can better question similar attitudes today and avoid repeating the same cycles of exclusion and conflict. But we all know, unfortunately, we won't learn a damn thing. I hate to say it, but no one is ever alive long enough to see the results of their actions trickle-down effect, so nothing ever changes. The only hope is pure evolution. We must take the next step in order to separate ourselves from these primitive notions that only serve to make life more difficult for the rest of us. We see this all the time today, when the same groups of people, who have been warring for millennia over the same piece of land, what do we see? The rest of the world gets the inconvenience, and it starts to have an effect on the lives of people who could not give a shit. I say this confidently, we are all sick of this nonsense. The ability to compromise is what makes a human noble, but it seems we place anger and revenge over making the world a better place. But as long as we get what we want, who cares about the effects on society? And this is the downfall mindset of man. Thank you guys so much for watching One Man's Rant. Bill said it best. Amsterdam, I'm New York. Don't you never come in here empty-handed again. You gotta pay for the pleasure of my company.